All right, good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to a special episode of Talk the Ting with your hosts, Dwayne and Rajiv.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes. Good evening. Tonight we have a very special guest with us, a guest that we couldn't let the opportunity pass up to speak to. So Miss Doctor, I don't want to say Miss, let me be correct, Dr. VALDA Henry. Before we get into the interview and the conversation, a couple of things. So we are going live on YouTube for the people who are new to this. You guys could subscribe, hit the little bell, oh man, how long I've been waiting to say that. Hit the little bell on the side so when we go live, you guys can get the notification and everybody could be on the same page. You guys can follow our videos. We do have Instagram that we post, or some of our clips on. You guys can see the flyers and everything on there. And, we really appreciate the people who've been with us from day one. We definitely appreciate the people who've been with us from day one. And we want to make sure that we appreciate you guys. But so before we begin, Rajiv, how was your day today, man?
It was good. It was, it's warm weather, so we enjoying that.
Yes. And Dr. Henry, how are you doing? You muted.
You muted.
I'm wonderful. I had a very good day, actually.
Very good day. Anything interesting for the day? Any interesting facts?
That was interesting facts. I had a meeting with a client, sorted out a report. My 2 charges went out on a field trip that they had great fun at. This morning, it looked like I left on my lights. So this morning when I came to leave to drop them off, my car would not start. And so we actually walked at least a good halfway. That was like a little exercise until we were rescued by my good friend, Mrs. Wallace, Rajiv's mother. Yes.
And of course, the highlight of today in our beautiful country, there was the budget address.
Yes, indeed. I didn't get a chance to listen to most of it, so I now have to make sure I get a copy to do my reading. So I actually have that done as my to-do list for tomorrow to read the budget.
That's diligent.
Yeah.
And to all our Dominican listeners out there, we should probably do the same as well.
Yeah.
So
we try to do that every year.
Well, thank you for coming on. Thank you for joining us. I know you're no stranger to some of our audience, but this is a regional audience and international audience as well. So we're gonna shy out on the introduction. So who is Dr. VALDA Henry?
VALDA Henry, a simple lady born in the village of Maho. My parents, now both deceased, Elkin and Ilma Henry. I am the last of my mother's 11 children, and maybe I fall somewhere like maybe number 20 of my father's 25. So I come from a very large family. I think one of the beauties is that though very large, we are also close and connected. I'm the mother of a young man who just turned 12 on Saturday. I'm a surrogate mother, another mother for a little girl. So his Nathan Neria, who is 7. I own a VFing CEO. I call that that was maybe my first child. No, my PhD was my first child because I swear it was like towards the end, that was how pregnant people felt. That's what I said. VFing, it's now 15 years old, actually. What else? What else can I say? I love research. I always said if I had the power, one of the things I maybe would spend my life researching and writing and publishing. I just love to know things. I have a love for knowledge. I believe for me that God has to be the center of your life. And so I try my best to do that. And Yeah, I think I'm a good friend, a good sister, a good mother. Yeah, a good godmother. The only negligent sometimes. That's, yeah. Yes, yes.
So okay. So give us a little bit of a background. You said you came from a big family, and
Yes.
are you, you said you 20 of 25. I don't know if you were joking or if you're serious,
Well,
but
that is true. I'm the last of 11 of my mother's children. So I was like treated as the last child for a large part of my life. Yes, we grew up in this big family, but my father always stressed education. So education was a big thing. So his friends would and people would sometimes be surprised that they come to our home where so many children, and they would find it relatively quiet. And that was because for most part, we were reading. I have said that before in countless times. So some persons have heard it already. Because my father also had a rule in the house that if someone was reading, they could not be disturbed. So if I was reading, they couldn't come and ask me to go and do a chore because I was reading. So for my father, that was really very important, education. He always said to us that one of the things he would give us is education. And with that, we could go anywhere, be anything that we wanted to be. And so we were raised in that. We also had a room that was called the games room, and we had a library. We had lots of books. So we actually ran a library from our home for the village of Maho. So a lot of children, their first exposure to books, not the public library knows, was at our home, where we ran a little library from our stock of books for our friends and the villagers. We had this big room with all sorts of games, board games. We had a pool table, table tennis. And so a lot of the village children or friends and others would come to this room on the evenings after they've done their chores, done their homework, to play. And so that was the environment in which I was raised. My father also never made any distinction between his girls and his boys. So that's why I don't have this big thing about I'm a girl and I did that, or I'm a woman and I did that. Because my father just had expectations that we had to do well, and he rewarded accordingly. In fact, if you did very well, like me, I remember once when I was in first form, I remember that so distinctly. My friends were talking about, who was going to Barbados for Christmas and who was going to Guadeloupe and St. Lucia, and one person was going to America. And so I went to my father and I was like, okay, I went to my little report card. First grade, and I said, okay, so where am I going? Because children had third grades and they were going all kind of places. So I figured out, if for first grade I could be going somewhere. And my father asked me, going where? And I said, so Daddy, where am I going? And he said, going where? I said, like overseas, nowhere. And he's like, for what? I said, my report. He said, what do you mean for your report? I'm like, my friends are third grades and persons are going to, all over the place. And so where am I going? My father said, really, nowhere. He said, I can't reward you for doing what is expected of you. So you think when I send you to school, what I send you to school to do? To learn and to come back with good reports? I can't reward you for that. You have to get rewarded for what you do over and above. Wow. I remember when I graduated from UWI in 1988. First class in the management studies department. Because I did management studies, the department was established. And so I'm asking my father, okay, everybody, I got lots of gifts. I was like spoiled. The only person I didn't get a gift from was my father. So I kept saying, okay, maybe he'll give to me when, graduation. So we came home for graduation. I said, okay, I run to the airport to meet him, because maybe he has that gift to give me, He of eternal hope is me, Nothing. So I said, okay, when we get to the house, nothing. I said, okay, when I was dressing for graduation, I said, after graduation, he must give me the gift. We went out to dinner and nothing. So when we got back to the home, we had rented a house. I said, okay, Daddy, so, where is it? And he's like, where's what? I said, the gift now.
And for those who do not know, who was your father?
Elkin Bernard Henry, know?
And who was he in Dominica?
Okay, my father was a minister. He was a farmer, a teacher, an accountant, and he was a government minister from 1965 or 66 to 1970. He was the Minister of Community Development and Education. In fact, he was the one when the grammar school, the ground was broken for the building of grammar school, he was the minister. And there is a famous quote is known for, and I don't know if it's original, is that out of the dungs of cow tongue, because at the time the place was called cow tongue, because lots of cows were, placed there for grazing. Out of the dungs of cow tongue shall arise an edifice of learning, the likes of which the world has never seen. So that was one of his little quotes he made during his little speech. He's one of the famous orators in Dominica, because a lot of persons would give me, up to last week, a man was giving me stories of how they would tune in and listen to Parliament when my father was speaking, because my father was known to also speak for days. I consider him the brightest person that I know in this whole wide world.
Wow. So in terms of education, so your father really stressed the importance of education.
Yes.
But what was your journey in terms of your education? Where did you go to school in Dominica? Did you go to school overseas? How was that journey?
I started off my education life at the Teacher Joseph Preschool in Maho at age maybe 3 or maybe a little earlier. From there, I went to the Maho Government School. There's a story of how I got to Maho Government School, but anyway, I'll move on that. I went to the Maho Government School, and that's where I started common entrance. I passed. The entire school expected me to get a scholarship because from all out of my school life, I was between 1 and 2, between Jones Murphy and I. And Jones Murphy was truly a genius. He is a genius. And when I got a pass, the entire school was horrified. The principal called the ministry and wanted a remark and all of that. And they felt that I needed to stay down. I was 9 at the time. I should stay back because I was so young, and to resit because I had so many chances, because in those days you could go up to 12 years to sit common entrance. And I was having none of it. I felt no, I had passed and I was going to high school. And even there's a story when my father went to register me, the nuns were like, no, she's so young, let her stay on. Long and short, I persisted and I ended up at the convent high school. So I did my high school years at the convent high school. Then I went to the sixth form college, and that is where my sister Connie said I came into myself. She used to always say that even if I had not passed the CXCs, the A-levels, and I did relatively well. I could not say I've regretted this, and I haven't. And in fact, this group of us, of that year of 1981, 81 to 83, so we graduated in 1983. The group of 83, we were very instrumental in establishing now the Sifokol Alumni Association, Dominica Sifokol Alumni Association. That's very active, and at the last graduation, we gave something like 12 or 13 prizes, subject prizes. We also raised significant funds for the State College, for St. Vincent, and we donated it. We gave our contribution through the Dominica State College, a vibrant group working right now on some major projects, one being a dialysis project. So we'll see how far that goes. And we want to introduce a mentoring project with the Dominica, with this State College. So from sixth form, I taught for 2 years at the Dominica Community High School. Then I left and I went to University of the West Indies, Cave Hill campus, 85 to 88. And listen, I think at Cave Hill, I always treasure that education, because when I left Cave Hill in 1988, I knew that I didn't know everything, but what I did know, I left Cave Hill with a confidence that it didn't matter where I was placed, I would do well, whether I knew the information or not. Because at Cave Hill, we had to do so many projects, we researched so much that you just know you had to go and find it. Not finding the information and not doing well was not an option. So I left Cave Hill with that confidence. I came back in 1988, and I had gotten a scholarship from Cave Hill to do an MPhil to lead to a PhD. But I didn't accept that scholarship on 2 fronts. One, it was in accounting, and I wasn't sure, and I loved accounting, that was what I really wanted to do. And 2, I was bonded, and the government said I needed to return, and they would replace the scholarship after a year. But I worked in the civil service for 3 years, I think it was. No, 3 years. And on the 3rd day, 1991, I left for Manchester Business School, where I did MBA. Persons always ask me about Manchester. I said, I didn't choose Manchester. Manchester chose me. There's a long story of which I won't explain. And
you're talking about Manchester, England, right?
Yes, that was the only school that had where the application period was still open by the time all this confusion had gotten resolved. And so I always said it chose me. And again, those were 2 fantastic years. The MBA at Manchester, I don't know if it has changed now, but it was very practical. So even during the program, we had to go out into the real world and work. So during the summer of the 92, I worked with the Royal Life Estate. At the time, it was the largest real estate company in England. I had a company's car, and my job was to go out to not sell the product, but to go to the various branches to look at how we could improve the efficiency and the effectiveness of the program. I also ended up going to India, as we also had to bid for projects like consultants. And my team, we won a project to India to look for a market for a British-based company for air filters. And so I got some really lifelong experiences as well as lifelong friends. I'm from Manchester Business School. That takes us to 1993. 93, I returned to Dominica, and I left shortly after.
Hold on. Before the return, why the University of the West Indies at a time when people were either going straight to England or maybe Cuba, and also why did you leave Manchester?
Why come back?
Sir Alex Ferguson.
You could have gone to work for Manchester United and just stay there,
right? I know. Why UWI? I've always wanted. I'm a person, I think I set my mind early on what I want, and I kind of go to that, and I can be a little bit inflexible in my pursuit of this. I always said my first degree had to be at UWI. And I think it's because my sisters were at UWI. In fact, there is a story of me when I was 6 years old. It is said that my sister Connie was in Jamaica at the time, Mona, studying. And I had written her letter saying, she had that letter for many years, that I'm studying my work. 6 years, I'm studying my work, taking my work very seriously so that I can get to university, to join her at the university. I mean, at 6 years, no matter what study, So and then my sister Cleopatra went to KVille. So I guess it's because I was surrounded by them, and they were like my little idols and role models. I always said my first degree, even while my other sisters wanted to go to America, and they actually went to America. Thinking of it, I was the only one who went to UWI from our last batch of 4. There is a last batch of 4 of us, my 4 sisters, 4 of us, 3 sisters and I. And yes, they all went to America, but I was determined that I was doing my first degree at UWI. Although fate, I would have it, I almost missed it because I was applying for the scholarships and I wasn't getting them. And my brother Edgar was at Dalhousie in Canada, and at St. Mary's, in Canada. And so he went and got me Dalhousie forms, and I completed it, and I was accepted at Dalhousie. I always say I was on my way out to purchase my ticket, being very sad that I wasn't going to KVille. When I got a phone call, I heard the door was closed, I was already out, and I heard the phone ringing. And I was like, should I go and answer it? And I said, Valda, just go and answer the phone, you're hearing the phone. So I went back to the house and I answered the phone, and it was Mrs. Sybil Barron on the line asking me if I wanted a scholarship to go to KVille. So I said, Mrs. Barron, I wanted a scholarship, because Mrs. Barron and I had a running fight because I would apply for scholarships and I'll get one every day for more than a year. I brought an written application to that Ministry of Education every day for the scholarship. Wow. And so she said to me, because once she had even reported me to my older sister, because she'd said something to me and I didn't like it. So I kind of answered her back, in a nice looking way back, but she felt it wasn't good. So anyhow, and I said, I wanted a scholarship because I have 300 or more applications in that ministry, 400, because every day I brought one, except Saturday and Sunday. And then I went, so instead of going to purchase my ticket, I actually went to the ministry. And then she told me it wasn't a full scholarship, it was half, because I would have had to pay half of my economic costs. I said, I'm sure it's cheaper than what I would have to pay anyway. So I will accept it. And even there was a twist. So yes, after I said yes, I would have accepted. And we went, we had certain meetings and so forth. And then we were told that the officer from CEDA, it was a Canada government scholarship, Canada International Development Agency, CEDA. And so the officers were going to visit to interview the candidates, and then to choose. They were choosing 12 in our year, 12 of us. Well, 8 or 12. And they would call us. And I remember going to work at the community high school, and Mrs. Nicholas is saying to me, "Valda, what are you doing here?" And I said, "Oh, you know what I'm doing here? I've come to work, I've come to teach." She said, "No, there's a meeting." I said, "Which meeting?" She said, "Yes, there's a meeting for the CEDA scholarships. The man is here and they are interviewing people this morning." I said, "Well, no one called me. And so I'm here to teach." And she was insistent. So I said, "Well, all right, let me make a phone call to verify this." She said, "I'm telling you." I said, "No." So I called and I asked the speaker, I won't call the officer name, to a particular officer. And I heard the person in it saying to the officer, "Say, I am not there." So she said, "Well, Valda, go down." I said, "No, I'm going to teach for the day. And then at the end of the day, I'm going to go to the ministry." And that's what I did. When we left school at 2 o'clock, I went to the ministry and I asked for the officer, and they said he was at a meeting. At that time, they were in that room discussing now who is going. And I'm waiting, and they're like, I said, "No, he must come out at some point." So I sat there waiting in the outside of that room where the meeting was being held. And that meeting looked like it wasn't ending. So afterwards, I started getting impatient and I started like making noise, grumbling, talking loudly to myself. And the CEDA person opened the door and asked, what was the matter, if I had a problem. And I said, "Yes, I do. I have a problem with the officer sitting here with you, because I was told that I would be informed of a meeting and I was never informed. And so I've come here to find out what it is, And he said, "But the meeting took place." And they said I wasn't interested. I said, "How do you mean I wasn't interested? Of course I'm interested." And then he asked the officer to leave the office. He asked me to come in, and we did my interview.
Wow.
And right there and then, so I already said I was the first person who had the scholarship, because he said, because at the time I had started the program, the UWI Diet. So I had actually done 2 courses, and there were a few others who had done it, but I had the better grades. And he said that. He said, "But you have the better grades of the students who had passed, who had done the course. So you would like be an automatic choice." Plus I was a woman, there is this thing about, And so before I left, he said, "You have the scholarship." And so that's how I got that CEDA scholarship. So although I was called for it, you notice it almost disappeared on me. And
yeah, but how did you feel like, because I'm sure many people in that scenario maybe would have just kind of let it go, or, when he asked you, "Oh, you have a problem?" You'd say, "No, not really." And you, how did you, were you nervous to be like, "No, I do have a problem"?
No, listen, by that time I was so angry because I was waiting for a long time. So I was getting very courtois. And so, no, I was like, "No, of course I do have a problem. And that's the problem, is right here sitting with you." I said that,
Oh boy, you both.
And no, I did. And yeah, but I will tell you, I was very annoyed with that little officer for a while. And, even when we went up and the students, we had to get, thank God my brother-in-law, His Excellency William, made sure I said I had to go up with enough money and so on, because I was the last student who got paid my stipend, because my name never got, even after, yes, I had the scholarship, they had to send my name up to the officers in Barbados, and my name somehow missed the list. And so I didn't get my stipend until maybe 2 or 3 months later. And then, he saw me. But in the end, life is funny, After that officer and I became such good friends, because when I came back, I had to end up working with him. And so when he listened to me on my first day and I realized I had to work with him, I said, "Listen to me, you see me, I can work with the devil in hell. So we are not friends." Make no mistakes about this, we are not friends. But we are here to do work.
We're here to work, right.
Work, and I will do everything I have to do, and I expect the same from you. But do not get confused here. We are not friends. But I will say to you, I worked for 3 years. He was that officer, and we became more than friends. He was like, a mentor, a big brother. It just, we had, yeah.
So
Yes.
for the return from Manchester, what drove that decision? Leaving Manchester, coming back to Little Dominica.
Okay, 91 to 93. Again, there's a story with me and going to Manchester. How is Manchester? I tell people, you know, around my journey has had lots of bumps along the way, but I have just maneuvered myself around these bumps because I kind of know what it is I wanted. Again, when it came, that scholarship, I had to go the next year, the government promised, and which there is a minuted paper with that. Honorable Mary Regina Charles was the prime minister at the time, and it was minuted in cabinet that that scholarship would be replaced after a year. So when I came in, everybody became admin officers, and though I was an admin officer, I was placed in charge of the administrative reform program because one of the officers had gone away to study, and when I came, another one was leaving, that is Miss White, and so they were expecting the other officer to return in a year, and said when she returns, I would leave, but she didn't even come back. In fact, she has not been back. And so 1 year became 2 years and 3 years, and then I went to the prime minister and I said, you know, listen. And then so she said, okay, when that other officer comes back, and I said, no, my future can't be hinged on people. What if they never come back? Look, the first one never came back. Why? How do we know if the second one will come back? She did come back. I said, my future can't be hinged to, you know, somebody's decision. No,
Yeah.
I, you know, needed to get my scholarship to go back. But I didn't wait for government to replace it. You know, every year we get the Commonwealth scholarships advertised. So I determined that I would apply for one. I was going to do the British because I always wanted to do that instead. Go to, so I don't know, go back to England to do my master's. One of the officers working with me said to me, and he said, "VALDA, apply for the Canadian one because I really want to do the British. But if you apply, you will get it because you have better grades than I have, you have better work experience, plus you're a woman." So I did. I applied for the Canada and allowed him to apply for England. Now, Canada always responds before England. Yet, the British Commonwealth Scholarship responded and he got his own. And I said, well, that's weird. Eh? How is that Canada has not come back yet? Fortunately, the good thing, they also respond to the candidate, to the candidate. So I eventually got a letter from Canada saying that I was successful. However, because I didn't send up my GMAT score, they couldn't place me. So they would defer my scholarship for a year. And I said, but no, I was going, yes, on leave, but I had given all of my things. I mean, we are in the department doing it. I'm helping people to do it. Of course, I know what is required.
You know what to do, right? Yeah.
So I went to the officer who was the one responsible for dispatching these things, the same one who asked me to apply for Canada. And I went to him and I said, you know, look at this letter, genuinely. Look at this letter that I got. These people are wrong because I gave you everything. And he says, cool, calm, like a little cucumber. He says to me, no, they're not wrong. I didn't send it. I said, oh, you mean you didn't send it? He said, no, it wasn't required. I told him it wasn't required. Look, if the application form is in a blue form with black, this thing about GMAT is in a box by itself, bolded in red. You can't miss that.
You can't miss it, yeah.
I said, oh, you do. I said, but every year you do that stuff. Every year you know it's required. I said, you sent up yours, but you didn't send mine. And I was really furious. Listen, I almost beat the fellow up. Honestly, I was so furious. And then after that, I said, okay, but I'm not waiting for next year. I'm leaving this year. So I then applied to the government scholarship board for a scholarship to go. And then every time, you know, one of the officers, the other officer who sat on the board, on the service the board, give me a story. They say, send this, send that. I'll never end in that sending. So once I met the chairperson on the steps, you know, going up and down, and just out of thing, I just said, so what else do you all want me to send for you? Every day is a different story, every week. And she said, what are you talking about? I said, yes, my application. She said, I never saw an application. I said, you never saw? I said, but every week I'm getting a story to send this, and then. She says, no. And she then asked me to send it to her directly, and I did. And, you know, for a whole year until I left, I wore white, only white. And it was to remind me, and I said that to them in the office. I came in it, I said, listen, I'm going to wear white to remind me to remain pure in thoughts, words, and deeds.
Wow.
Because if I don't remind myself of that, I will do some really bad things to these people. So I want to remain, I do not want these people to cause me to sin. I don't want to come down to meet them. I want to stay up or bring them to meet me. I don't want to come down. My father always say that. Challenge people to come to you, do not go down to meet them. And so for a whole year, I didn't realize I had so many white things, to be honest.
So you was a nurse then for a year?
I am a whole year.
Or none. And none.
And none.
Yes, right for that entire until I left. And then when I realized it was still taking their own little precious time, I applied to Aid Bank also for a loan to go on because I was definitely going that year. I was not going another year. And my father, bless his good soul, came. And if only thing for education, my father pledged anything. So he came with me to Aid Bank to sign off and to be my co-signer and so forth, give his little land title. And then one of the members of the board, two members of the board, and one who, I guess I can call his name, Mr. Shaw, who was the CAPSEC, and who was the cabinet secretary when Miss Charles had indicated that
Sure, that the late president.
Mr. Vernon Shaw, His Excellency, yes, now deceased. He said, but what am I doing applying for a job, a scholarship? Because government promised they would replace my scholarship. And then, you know, and long and short, they moved and it's again a fortune because then Commonwealth had gone and then there was a person who had gotten a British Commonwealth scholarship and for some reason couldn't take it. And so at the time, the CPO was Mrs. Jennifer Astafans and Miss Jennifer White had returned. And between Miss White and Mrs. Astafans, they did what had to be done. And that British Commonwealth, that British Council scholarship was given to me to go and do my master's. And so that's how I went in 1991 to do my master's at Manchester. And by that time, after all of that back and forth going on, you can imagine when we were looking, now I'm looking because I said, I'm going to England. That's where I always wanted to go. So I'm going to go to England. And at the time when you're looking around for schools, I think I wanted to really go to Oxford or Cambridge, but the application deadline was well gone. The only school with a good reputation, and I wanted to go to a reputable school, whose application period was still open, was Manchester Business School with a few days. And you know how I ended up getting that application on time? At the time, Dr. Robinson, the dentist, what is his first name now? I can't remember. What is Dr. Robinson's first name again? Anyway, Dr. Robinson, the dentist.
Guys, if you know Dr. Robinson's first name, put it in the chat.
He was studying, doing his dentistry stuff. I guess he's advancing was it in Leeds? Very close to Manchester. So what we did, and my brother-in-law was in, again, His Excellency Williams, I think when they were at Caville, they were housemates or something like that. He had his contact, so he contacted him. We FedExed the application to him, and then he drove to Manchester to deliver it.
Drop it off, wow.
Drop it off, because it was like the window. I mean, if that wasn't done, I would have missed that window. So I always say to people, when people ask me, why did you choose Manchester? I said, I didn't choose Manchester. Manchester chose me. And so
from Manchester, we're back in Dominica, and then there's VF.
Yes. From Manchester,
how did VF Inc. come about? So how did that come to be? And what is it?
Oh yeah, what is VF Inc? All
right. So before I come to how VF Inc., let me just take us like a spin. So coming back from Manchester, I spent about 2 weeks. I left, I went to Caville to lecture, 93, 94. At the time, I'd also applied for a job at ECCB when I left Manchester before I had applied. And I'd been called for an interview, maybe in the August, and I heard nothing. I went to UWI to teach, and then I wrote them, and I called and I said, listen, I want to know what's the status on this, because we are on a break. If I get this job, then I would return to second term. But once second term has started, I won't leave until the year is finished. And then second term starts and ECCB calls me to be an investment officer. And I said, well, I can't come, not before end of June, not before June. And long and short, I ended up waiting and went to ECCB June 15th, 1994. I stayed 4 years. I left in 98 to do my PhD. But while there, my sister Connie had formed a consultancy firm, Whitco, in 1997. But prior to that, I always said the Governor Dwight Venner gave me my first consultancy project. One of the commercial banks had requested some assistance before that. The Social Securities were requesting assistance in investment policies and reviewing their portfolios. And I was the one who went. I first came to Grenada first. And I guess they talk among themselves, and Dominica requested I was sent to Dominica, and I found myself going wrong to the Social Securities, giving assistance. I guess stock went wrong, and then one of the commercial banks in St. Lucia wrote to ECCB asking for me to come to assist them. And then the governor said, well, this is a commercial bank, then you'll have to pay. I can send her, but you must pay. Governor set my fee, everything. I said, Governor, we can't work. It says that. He says, no, I can authorize it. So I was sent out to this commercial bank, and then I went to a few others commercial bank who then requested. So it was there I started this experience of consulting. And then when my sister had a firm, I would assist. So when I came back for my PhD, I joined my sister's firm with Co Inc. And I worked there for a while. But then there was things I wanted to do, and my sister, she was like more conservative. And, she'd be saying yes, and then when we're ready to start, she'd be saying no, because, and then I just felt.
Spread your wings.
Yes, I just felt because those things were welling up in me. And I always say to people, my bones speak to me when I need to shift and move. And in order to do what it is I wanted to do, I needed the latitude to do it. Mm-hmm. And that's what VFing was. I started working on VFing in the November of 2005. That's also the year my father died. And then
what does VF stand for?
VALDA Frederica Incorporated. My name is VALDA. My second name is Frederica. So I just use my initials.
Okay.
And on March 9th, 2006, I actually went on the 8th. When I got there, I was like, wait, today's International Women's Day. No. I don't want to get myself submerged in that, because then all the celebration will be on Women's Day. Nobody will be able to recognize that VFing. So I then put my anniversary. I then came back the next day and registered on March 9th, a day after International Women's Day, 2006. So officially, VFington 15 on March 9th. Yeah. So what do we do? VFing, it's a consultancy firm. As we say, with integrity and excellence, we deliver solution is our motto. And again, that integrity and excellence it's in the vision, it's in the mission. Our whole thing is to be the premier consultancy firm, not just in the Caribbean, but and beyond, providing solutions to businesses and individuals with integrity and excellence. And that has been our watchword over the 15 years, integrity and excellence. I will not take a project just for taking a project's sake. If something in my spirit tells me that project is not maybe the right project, I will not accept that project, even if it means a lot of money. And once we take a project, whether we take, nobody knows when we do things for free or for full pay, because whether it's pro bono or it's full pay, the same standard.
Same level, right.
You're about to enter a new chapter right now. It's back at the ECCB.
Yes.
How did you get there? How did that decision come about to, now leave your baby of 15 years and go back to the nest? Okay.
That is an interesting question, Raju, because when your acquaintance sends me this application, called me one morning, and she says, listen, the deputy governor's job has been advertised. Someone sent it to me for me to apply, but truly, that's not me. When I saw that application, I saw you. So I'm forwarding it to you by email. So I said, really? I said, but I would think I would know about that because, I have links at ECCB and so on. So while she's talking to me, I quickly went on ECCB website and I saw nothing. So I said to her, are you sure? Because I'm on the website and there's nothing about this. She said, but I got it from someone who works there. So I said, okay. So after I hung up, I called, the HR director, and I said, Jolene, is this vacancy out? Because she said, girl, I'm just speaking to my staff, telling them we just sent out that out, not even half an hour on the intranet. And she's sure by now the entire Caribbean knows about it. And here I am calling her. And she said, yes, it's all, but it's not yet posted on the website, because normally they post things on the internet, I guess, give it a day or so before they send it on their website. And so I waited, and then when it got to the website, a few friends saw it and sent it to me. And I still debated, and a friend called me, told me she was applying. She didn't know about it. She sent me something else, and I told her about it. I told her I think she should apply. I actually called another friend, and I said, this is out. I think you should apply. You'd make a good DG, And he said, no, I'm retiring, and I'm not interested. And so my other friend said, yes, you should apply. She did. And then she said, are you applying? I said, the truth is, I'm not sure. Because, I'm thinking of my VFing. While, yes, we've had, ups and downs, but things look like they are turning for us, some projects coming on board. So I'm not so sure. I have not made up my mind on that. And then a few friends called, sent it, and one friend I asked, and I said, should I apply? And she's like, what foolish question is this? Of course you need to apply. And, everybody said I should apply, but I was still debating. And I always said the decider of how I ended up applying and really putting things into motion 2 days before the application deadline was a friend who's like, she's like a mentor to me. I'm based in St. Lucia, Dr. Shamin Gardner. And we were talking. I called her and I was saying to her, and we were talking. And then she says to me, are you applying for this position? And I said, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not so sure. And she said to me, and then I stirred in the voice, and she said, VALDA, you shall apply. And she said, you shall apply for this position. Something in my spirit tells me that this is your turn, your time, and this job is yours, and you shall apply. So I listened, and she kept calling me, have you applied? Have you done it? Have you done it? I said, okay, I'm the CV, I'm doing this. And so I really actually was galvanized into action after my conversation with her.
With her, right.
And when I was completed the application and I was satisfied that it was, possible, it was like maybe half an hour to the deadline. When I applied for the job.
But it's close.
So before we continue, there's a few people on the live I know who are not from the Eastern Caribbean. They're from the United States.
Yes.
So just give us a little background on the ECCB. What does the ECCB do? And this new chapter, right? What will be some of, I guess, your roles and responsibilities in this new job?
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank is the central bank for 8 territories. It is one of 3 multinational central bank, and I think it's the first. The other one is the European Central Bank, and the other one is one in Africa. I don't remember the name. But ECCB, I think, is the first, because even when the European Central Bank was being formed, they came to ECCB for discussions and so on, and the governor and a team from ECCB were instrumental in assisting them in the formation of the European Central Bank. So it is a central bank for 8 territories. The territories are Antigua and Barbuda, Anguilla, Grenada, Dominica, Montserrat, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. These are the 8 territories. So it is the bank that regulates. Its main job is to maintain the strength of the Eastern Caribbean dollar and the stability of the financial sector, as well as to promote economic growth and development in our 8 territories. There is one currency, the Eastern Caribbean dollar, that's used by these 8 countries. That currency is pegged to the US dollar. And
was it always?
Probably, yes, almost from the time it was established. And that peg, yes, 1971, 1983 became ECCB, yes. It was pegged from established. Before we were ECA, and then we became ECCB in 1983. It was pegged, and by the agreement, that peg ECCB must maintain a reserve of 60%. That means for every EC dollar circulating, there must be 60 US cents in reserves. But ECCB, and especially under Governor Venner, has always prided himself that the Eastern Caribbean dollar was almost 100% backed. So for most parts, and Governor Antoine has maintained that same strength and stability. So for most parts, for every EC dollar that's circulating, there's 1 US dollar in reserve. In fact, when I joined ECCB in 1994 as an investment officer, part of my responsibility was the management of the portfolio for the reserves. So the reserve that we had, I'm back in the currency. And I always said to people, Governor and Venner took that thing so seriously. You had no life almost. Because Governor Venner, I remember the first time, I just arrived and I'm at church, and he happened to come to church. He's a Catholic. He wasn't attending Mass regularly, but that Sunday, Governor Venner was at Mass. And after Mass, he met me and he said, so Valda, how is my reserve doing? I said, Governor, today's Sunday. And he said, what do you mean today's Sunday? I don't care what day it is. Anytime I ask a question, you need to be able to answer. And so I had a TV that was permanently on CNBC. So when I was home or I was not at work or home, I was cued in. So we monitored that portfolio. And he always said to us, he gave us investment guidelines. We were to follow it. He said, if we deviated, don't wait for him to find out, just pack our little bags and head on out.
Wow.
Wow.
Caribbean Wall Street.
Yeah.
Wall Street.
Yeah, man. And Governor was very strict on that. He said, if there is something that's not working, you bring it to my attention. We take it to the investment committee. We take it to the board if needs be. And until it's changed, what is in existence is what is in existence. And
don't change what's not broken.
Yes, he always said that these policies are here to ensure a systematic approach to the management of his reserve. 100% backing is what he wants. And so even when, we'd have managers, because for a large part, the portfolio was also managed by external managers, would come with all things, so that would earn more interest, that would do more, give us a greater return. He's like, I'm not interested in bigger returns on the portfolio. My quest is to maintain the stability. So the
no forex,
no blessings.
Can be falling, so no options, no futures, none of those things, no puts. It could be rising and falling, or my money is remaining safe. It's not moving anywhere, which is true. So on the pension fund, we also manage the pension fund. We had a little more liberty, but on the reserve fund, it was set at the interest rate was set, and consequently that guided everything we did.
So will you be working remotely, or will you have to take up office physically?
I have to be in St. Kitts physically. Right now, most of the staff are in fact working remotely, and I guess I will also maybe be working remotely, but working remotely from St. Kitts. And then I guess when needed, so the staff go in when needed, but for most parts, especially remember recently St. Kitts have also instituted a lockdown. So the staff had to go back out, even the few that came back on. But when needed, the staff report to headquarters, as it's called, or campus, as it's called, the campus headquarters. And I would be expected to do that.
So what does this new chapter mean for VF Inc.?
Well, for VF Inc., when I assume duties, and from now, the date is kind of set, mid-September. On the day I assume duties, all ties with VF Inc. in terms of me being a face of VF Inc., promoting VF Inc. ceases. And then, so VF Inc. has to have a new face. We will announce in the next few weeks that new face. I've also put together a team who will work with the new CEO to provide the support. But the CEO comes, with some serious strengths in terms of organization management, HR, facilitation, and teaching skills, which is one of our core things. And then there will be the team, we always have a team of strategic consultants and partners, but I have augmented that team so to provide that additional support for the new CEO. I expect VF to continue to do well, to be honest. In fact, maybe it will do better than me. Gregor Nassif made a comment at the Wealth Symposium, which we held sometime in June. And one of the things he said when they were asking, in terms of his various businesses and he moved, he said one thing he recognized, that he can start a business and take it to maybe for the first 2 or 3 years. But afterwards, he must step aside and hand it over to people to take it to the new places it needs to be. I have managed VF for 15 years. We've had some great years. We've had some not so great years. We've had some really bad years, but we've held on. Our reputation has remained intact, because that is one thing I always ensured we could not compromise that. And I believe that I'm living now on a platform of growth for VF, because there we have some projects so the new team will not be starting with nothing, floundering and saying, how do we start? There are projects that they will get to start and to work with, and I expect them to continue to go out and get more work because they will have the capacity and will be able to maintain, the integrity and the excellence that VFing has built its reputation on.
So, in terms of leaving home and going out there to pursue your dreams, I mean, this is a discussion I've had with a few of my peers, and they've expressed, some of them are reluctant to see what's out there because they express concerns such as, they would like to have a house in Dominica or land in Dominica, and they're afraid that if they undertake a loan, then leaving Dominica would be a problem, or they have parents at home. So they're concerned about how finances work like across, even like the EC region, like, moving to Antigua, will I still be able to pay my loans in Dominica? They have those kinds of fears. Are those misconceptions warranted? What's your opinion on that?
They've always been that ease of movement of money across the ECCB area, the ECCU, as we call the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. So when I left in 1998, I was in St. Kitts, but I took a loan in Dominica to purchase the land on which my house now stands. And I was able to pay my loan by standing all the deductions that go out. Now it's even going to be easier with the digital cash that was introduced in March in some of the territories and will be introduced in September in the remaining 4 countries. So the movement of money is now even easier, going to be even easier within the region. So moving and thinking about how I'll pay my loan, how I'll send money for my parents, that is not a deterrent, and that is not an obstacle. So there is ease of money and ease of movement between. Now there's something called the electronic fund transfer, EFT, that is just like a wire transfer, but it's almost instantaneously. It happens. It's cheaper and happens almost instantaneously from one account to the next account in any of the banks in the ECCU region. So that is not a factor. One of the things persons think about too, okay, my parents. Okay, for me, you all ask what brought me back from Manchester? Why did I come back? And okay, I came back, I went to U, but even for my PhD, I was lecturing while I was studying. I lectured at 2 universities. I lectured at Warwick Business School, where I was doing my PhD, and I also lectured at Coventry Business School. Both universities offered me full positions when I graduated. In fact, for 3 years after I graduated, University of Warwick, my Warwick Business School, continued to contact me and to offer me positions to come back to teach. Because even while I taught, they always do these little surveys. I always came out in the top in terms of the discipline that I taught. I was always like number 1 in that. So the university, for 3 years after, University of Warwick continued to offer me positions to come back to teach, as a full-time lecturer. But when I graduated, I said, I'd lived away for a number of years. I was in St. Kitts for 4 years. Then I was for 3 years, a year at UE, 3 years doing my PhD. I said, I've been out long enough. I need to come. My father is not getting any younger, so I need to come home. So I actually came home because I wanted to spend more time with my father. I said, I don't know how many years he has left, so I want to be there for his remaining years. And when he leaves this earth, then I can leave again. And so I stayed on. So I returned in 2001. My father died in 2005, actually. And then I said, okay, I could go back out, but I never did. And in fact, the year I said I was going to go back out came Nathan. I had made all my plans. I said I had cleared my credit card, and I said, armed with my credit card, I was heading to Africa. I was either heading to Namibia, where I had done some work. South Africa, we had also done some work, because while I was studying, the UN had invited me to be one of their team, on their team of experts for Social Security, and I'd done some work with the government of South Africa on Social Security. And I fell in love with Cape Town, and I said I was going to Namibia. I had done significant work in Namibia with the Social Security there. And Namibia has such a feel of Dominica. You swear you're in Dominica, the people late, except that if we're late, we'll say, okay, I'm sorry for being late to give. No, and Namibia, they arrive 2 hours later, and it's like the meeting we just moving along. That's the start of the meeting. But there's a feel. I entered Namibia and I said, my gosh, I feel like I'm in Dominica, And so I was saying, I'm with my credit cards. I was heading to one of these places, or also Zambia, because I had this good friend from Zambia. And so I had those 3 places mapped in my head. And then came Nathan.
So another one of the barriers to exploring stuff outside of Dominica, some people might argue, is access. Like, where do you find these things? Where are these things? Where are these positions advertised? Like, do you know of any resource base or regional database where people go to look for stuff? Or
there used to be something called Caribbean Jobs. I don't know if that still exists. But no, I never looked. I don't know, I never looked there. But all those institutions I tell people, where do you want to work? And you just keep monitoring their websites, because all of these institutions, ECCB, CDB, CARICOM, OECS, even Lucilec, Anglec, all those institutions, they advertise positions on their websites. And so it's just doing like periodic reviews, or if you're interested in moving on, periodic reviews of these websites. CDB at least had a roster, say for consultants, so you could put yourself on that roster, apply to be on that roster, so that when various vacant jobs come up, they would inform you of it. I think CDB also has a register for vacancies. So if you register for that, when vacancies come up based on what you indicated your interest was, you would get a notification that there is a vacancy. But I think one of the best ways of doing that is browsing these websites. If you have friends in these countries, friends are good sources. In fact, a lot of consultancies I've gotten, actually I have friends too who would see something and say, oh, Valda, I saw that, and I think it's something you may be interested in, and they would send me the link. So your network of friends, you cannot underestimate the importance of that network of friends. And that is where, even in building your network, you have to have a network that's not just interested in just passing out jokes or passing out, gossip or things like that. But that would lead to the furtherance of your own goals. So these are some of the things you discuss with your friends. And so they know that. And so they because they know, okay, Rajo is interested in that. Then when they see something looking like what they know Rajo is interested in, they forward it. So those are the kind of relationships that, young people need to build, build a network of their friends. And that is why even when I teach, and, especially across region, and I always say to my participants, you must leave there knowing that with at least one person. When you come to any conference, you must leave that conference with not just a contact and a name, because we live with these names and never call, but somebody you connected with, that you can keep in touch with to grow your business. That you can, if you're encountering a difficulty, you can ask them, you can bounce an idea off them. You can ask for their, their support, their direction in various things. And if persons are purposeful to those kind of building relationships, you'll find that those relationships also pan out for you.
So I have another question, a little bit back to the VF Inc. I know you had the 2 notable annual events, right? The Youth Series and the Phenomenal Caribbean Women. What would be the what? Oh, I mean, I don't know if I should ask what would be the fate, because you cutting ties. But what do you want the fate to be? I guess
no, they are going to continue. I mean, a lot of PCWS participants, while they're congratulating me in the next breath, they're like, "So what happened to our PCWS?" I said, "Trust me, PCWS is on. It's not going anywhere." In fact, most of the speakers for the PCS 14, the 12th one in January, established already, confirmed. So they will take it on and continue the work to get it done. Youth Series, next week we start it is our 13th series, I think, yes, next week. And that will be the last one. I will be the face-off. So in fact, tomorrow I have to go live today, but I got caught up. Tomorrow I have to go live to do maybe my last few lives for the Youth Series in terms of promoting it. That will be the last one I will be able to promote for the next at least 5 years. But one of the things I hope, I have not discussed that yet with Governor, but I hope Governor will allow me to be a participant at the Phenomenal Caribbean Women's Symposium. So while I cannot promote it, I cannot speak about it, but on the day I can just show up to attend. And I would love the same for my youth series, because, oh gosh, you know, these two things are really deeply. Yeah, we have the men's symposium. It hasn't picked up as much, but these two events, and even the web symposium, which we just introduced, that was such an amazing symposium. I always said, you know, one night when I was driving home at the end of day 2, I said, the people who did not attend are poorer for it.
Well, just on that note, a lot of, sometimes you may hear that, okay, well, maybe some of these events are a little bit too expensive or not within the reach of people. So some people might say, you know, well, symposium, that was too expensive, not in my budget. Youth series, too expensive. I have 5 children. Or Phenomenal Caribbean Women, you know, it's at Kempinski, it's out of my reach. What do you have to say to that?
Well, actually, you know, one of the things I've always said about when people say about too expensive is about priorities. Because the very same people who tell me $300 for PCW, for the Phenomenal Caribbean Women Symposium is too expensive, where they get their snack, their meals, their manuals, their magazines, all of that included, are the very same people who will spend $2,500 and more on a carnival costume.
Yeah, yep.
Who will spend $6,000, who will pay for VVVIP at the World Creole Film Festival at what, 1,008, 2,000, whatever it was, 1,005. These are the very same people who say that. So what I have learned, and one of the years when it really hit me, and we've always given, you know, free spaces, we've gotten sponsors, you know, for persons who really are not able. But one year, a carnival band launched. They launched themselves in November. And within an hour, they had sold out 4 sections within an hour. The minimum needed was like 1,005. Minimum, because after that, I heard you have to pay for if you want additional feathers, you want this, you want that. So the little bath suit and maybe a trim in here and a trim in there is 1,005. And by the time you add a feather here, you add a wing band here, you add a headpiece, you're talking $2,500, $3,000, if not more. And it hit me. That was the age it really hit me. And I said, no, it's not that they cannot afford. It's about priorities. It's not important to them. And so because it's not important to them, they won't find $300. Their carnival is very important to them and being in a costume band. So they will find $3,000 for a costume that, yeah, it's nice to have fun and it's okay. They use one day. I don't know if you can use that swimsuit again. Maybe you can, I don't know. But that's what is important. So I have come to the conclusion. It's about that. It's about what people deem to be their priorities. And as I say, I cannot tell people what their priorities are. They choose their priorities. Like the Wealth Symposium. How much was the Wealth Symposium? I think $150? About $400. But did you see the caliber of persons who were on that Wealth Symposium? Anywhere else in this world you were going for that Wealth Symposium, it would not be anything less than $1,005. Because I think now of my SHRM, which is the Society for Human Resource Managers annual conference, a conference I attended and I have formed a delegation to attend. For more than 11 years, we have done that. 2009, we started, so that's about 11 years. And this year, they're doing in-person and online. And the online is $1,195. It's not $300. It's not 100 US. And so although it's online, what they have argued, and you're not there to do all the interactive, but the content of the information, the caliber of the speakers warrants that.
Mm-hmm.
And that Wealth Symposium, and not because we put it on, I will say to you, that Wealth Symposium, and even all the speakers, and some of the speakers are international, they come from international firms like the Snowdon Lane, Owen Pan and their team, and they have facilitated and they have spoken at several, international conferences. But they all came back saying that this was one of the best. They were promoting it even after the event, looking forward to the second, because the caliber of speakers.
And I suppose at these events, these are also the kind of events that you want to, market yourself, hand out your business cards. meet people, because some of the panel are usually regional people. You don't
Yes.
know who's higher and who just likes
Yes.
you in the audience and that kind of stuff. We coming up to the end where we're gonna have to wrap up. But one more question in terms of like your involvement in local things. We know you usually have been heavily involved in mass camp and also on the radio and DBS during the political season. Are those definitely that is it the end for those?
Well, I think definitely for the commentary, because as a central bank, we have to be, although I think that is going to be the end for the commentaries on the political stuff. I don't show we can voice, that kind of analysis in public like that. So I think that is the end. Again, my association of mass camp, well, is not conflicting in any way per se, but I won't be able to actively, I will always support mass camp. I'll always be a fan of mass camp, but I won't be able to be the face of mass camp as I was. And, I don't know. And at the time, life is just something else, As I always say to you, about my bones, and Raju, about those bones, because I say that all the time, my bones speak to me. My bones tell me when a change is coming. My spirit is unsettled when a big shift happens. And most times, I don't know what it is, but I can sense when it's coming. And so from last year in my spirit, I kept feeling a bit restless that I needed to do something different. And so I had indicated to mass camp from very early last year that we needed to find a replacement for me. I was handing over because in my spirit, I just felt I had to begin to groom a successor. And it's the same thing for VFing too. I started saying, I wasn't sure where it was going and if I would be, but I know we had to do different things. And that's the whole concept of the Well Symposium and so on came by. We started to look for collaborations with regional institutions on a type thing basis, not just a casual association. So we formed up our association with MSF Associates based in Grenada. In fact, come August 17th and 18th, MSF Associates will be hosting an HR conference and we will collaborate with them in doing that based in Grenada. We began big discussions with the Caribbean Association of Bankers, so even at the time we were even exploring association with ECCB. It's just amazing. So in my spirit, I felt that shift, that there was going to be a shift. I just didn't see where that shift was. I will say to you, I didn't see this coming. I didn't see being the deputy governor coming, though in 2018, I was on an assignment with ECCB. From 2017 to 2018, I was based at ECCB. In fact, I left Dominica like 3 weeks after Hurricane Maria to assume an assignment at ECCB from October 8th. And it ended until March 2019. However, I was in St. Kitts until September of 2018. And there was all these things about me staying on and, and even other projects, other companies was like soliciting my my work and do I stay on to St. Kitts? But something in my spirit kept telling me I needed to come back to Dominica. I really don't know what for, because to me nothing was great was revealed yet. But I don't know, maybe my experiences I went through was needed for this position. I don't know. And something Governor had said to me, Governor Antoine had, asked me what were my plans and if I wanted to go back. And he had discussed something with me. And I said, in jest maybe at the time, I said, no, I'm going home. I'm going back. I said, my spirit just says I need to go back. I said, I don't know what for, but I feel it. But I said, don't worry, I'll come back as your deputy. And I said that, I did. And I moved on, but I never even gave that any other thought, to be honest. And so when now he calls me to inform me that I was selected by the Monetary Council, it just came back. Two things came back to me. One, my son Nathan, who was with me and who was in school, and didn't want to come back when I said I was coming back. And he's like, Mommy, why don't you I want you to stay until I finish high school in St. Kitts. I was like, how far high school is, boy, you're in grade 3. You know how far that is? And I said, another 8 years. I said, no, Nathan, we're going home. And the first thing that popped up in my head when he called to say that, I said, but my God, and said to me, it was a 5-year contract. I said, but wait, Nathan had voiced this. And now Nathan, she's coming to pass, is going to do high school in St. Kitts.
Yeah.
5-year contract. And then the second thing came was I voiced that to governor. I said, no, I'll come back to be your deputy. And when he said, he remembered I said that. But at the time, like I said, that maybe in jest and we didn't take it on. And you know what? It hit me again, the power of the word. And that is why we have to be so careful with the words we utter, especially over our lives and about ourselves. And it's important to, as I say, be impeccable with our words, because our words can come back 5 years. That's not what, 3 years down the road. 3 years down the road, our words. Well, it's a negative thing we had voiced over our life. Maybe it's a negative thing that would be presenting itself. And that's why I say, to me, I can have zero money in my purse. I can have no money. You will never hear me say I'm broke. I don't use that phrase at all.
I agree.
Oh, VALDA, you are so fat. You don't. I say, please stop it. Don't even say that for that to stay on.
Right, but you're not Brooks.
Yeah.
But you're not Brooks.
No, I know I'm not poor. I may not have cash at this moment, but I'm not poor. Never have been. You understand? Because poverty is also a state of mind. And
so personally, it's something that I was gonna ask, because it's a good thing that you spoke about that, because you said you started in 1994 working with the ECCB. Now you're back working with the ECCB. When you started in 94, was that something that you thought, like, maybe one day I could be up there? Was that ever something that people brought to you, like, you have the potential to do that? Or
well, let me say that when I applied for the job and at the interview, somebody asked me how long I plan to be at the ECCB. I said, I don't know. I said, generally, I tell myself, I say nowhere more than 3 years. Because I guess I've always seen my dream as being, I didn't know the term yet, but being a consultant, owning my own firm and going all over. And I felt I needed varied experience in order to prepare for this. And so I always said to myself, wherever you go and work, VALDA, no more than 3 years. 1 year to 6 months to learn, and by, secondly, you master this thing. Third year, you really solidify yourself. You move on for the next experience. So I said then in the interview, I said, I don't know. I've always told myself no more than 3 years anywhere. So I may come and I will stay 3 years. I may come and find where I belong and I may be there forever. I may come and find it's not where I belong and I may leave within 6 months. And when I got to ECCB, I ended up staying 4 years, 3 months, 17 days, and I had the exact hours a few years gone. And on my 3rd anniversary, because I'd gotten so immersed in working, there's a joke. Imagine when I went back on the assignment in 2017, one of the security officers, who is now one of the senior security officers, said to me, you remember we used to say to you, and they did, just bring your bed and just stay here. So I would go to work at 8:39, but I'd be leaving work all 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. I'd be back at work at Saturday, back at work on Sunday. And I got so immersed in my job, in my work, and there was new things happening. I played an instrumental part in establishing the investment. It was establishing, but in strengthening the investment unit to bring in the management of funds. So before, when we came, all of the funds besides the fixed deposits were managed by external managers. Before I left, we brought it in. And before I left, we outperformed the external managers. I remember the first quarter when we outperformed them, a director had said, oh, that was just a flukes, And then the second quarter we outperformed, and then the third quarter we outperformed. And I said, is it still a flukes after 3 quarters? And so that was that. I didn't see that. And then I left in 98 to go and do my PhD. And to be honest, when I left in 98, I didn't see me going back, because normally when I leave a thing, something, I don't go back. So for me, it was just moving forward. But ECCB, I always held there, because I always said, I used to say, Mr. Sims, Ozzy Sims, when I joined establishment, gave me wings to fly. When I went to ECCB, Governor Venner gave me even bigger wings to fly, because the kind of work we did, even if when we were the officers, Jennifer, Nero, and I, the kind of work we did, that was really work at a director level, though we were not directors or anything like that. And it was not until I went back in 2017, 2018 on that special assignment. It was an HR consultancy looking at strengthening the HR department at the institution, as well as we extended it and kind of did like a overall review of the operations of the bank, and some of the departments were, restructured. That I said, and around the same time I came, Governor launched the new strategic plan, his strategic plan, 2017 to 2021. And I bought into that plan. So if there's a time I maybe knew that plan maybe better than anybody else, because even as I'm doing my assignment, what I have in forefront as my contextual framework is that plan, that everything I recommend, everything I do must fit into that plan so that it can be achieved. So I knew that plan at the back of my hands, and I bought into it. I truly bought into it. And as I said to Governor, that he was the governor for the right time for this job. And I said, no, I could come back at ECCB. Did I say deputy governor besides that joke? I didn't see it at that. I actually saw myself maybe just being a consultant for another 2 years or so on that project to get things to where it needs to be. But I'll say that. But as you say, if I ever saw, the people saw me. Again, when the governor 5 years ago, when the governor's position was being advertised, well, now 6, I was contacted because at that time, this time there was an advertisement, but for the governor's position, a team was formed to kind of headhunt to find a replacement for Sir Dwight Venner. And I was contacted by one of the team members to say that I was identified. And I remember saying, I said, me? I said, no. I said, I never saw that in my life path. And I then recommended someone who I felt would be a good governor. And I said, no, not me. This is who you all need to contact. And the person was like, what? I'm like, no. And imagine I said that to nobody, not one member of my family, friend, nothing. I just dismissed that conversation. And then I got a second call. And I said, no. And I said, okay, so why me? I've never seen that as part of my path. Never seen that in my life's journey. And then she gave some reasons. I was like, still not convinced. And then the chair of that panel contacted me and said, the word is coming back. I'm saying no, but I really didn't want me involved. And, they see me as potential. So I again asked myself, well, why many list the whole reason? And I said, okay.
Well, from all of what you telling us there, it seems like it was all destined to be.
Indeed, but, yes. That's why I say it's not about me. That's all about God, really. Even the whole process, how it went, even for this. And then, I went through this process, but I always said to them, I didn't claim it, I didn't claim it. So that even at the interviews, I felt I was doing the interviews. It was like I was outside watching somebody else. It wasn't me. Like I separated myself. It's weird. I couldn't explain it, but it's weird. Such that when I'll do, and then notwithstanding all of that, I made it in the top 3. Because they had contacted a number of persons, and I made it in the top 3. And then out of the top 3, Governor Antoine was selected. And I always felt, and when I heard the news, I didn't feel anyway, that I didn't know Governor Antoine at all. Even when and everybody couldn't understand it because I'd done so much work in Grenada and I'd done so much work in the Ministry of Education, Finance, where he was the financial secretary. But every time I was in Grenada, Governor Antoine was out. First, he was out doing his master's in England. Then he was at the IMF on a stint, because the financial secretaries do this little rotation. But when he was announced, I just said I was the right person for that job. And a few months after, maybe a month or 2 after he was appointed and he had taken up office, I am in Barbados in transit and I'm walking through the departure lounge and Governor Antoine is sitting. He lifts his head. Our eye fell directly into each other. He gets up, he walks to me, gives me a hug and he says, Sister VALDA. And I smile. I say, we've never met each other, but And so again, I guess our spirits connected. And even while I was on the job, and I said that on the assignment in 2017, I said, Governor, you are the right person for this job. And I truly believe this and mean it. And even when he called to tell me that I was the one selected, I said, I'm honored to be the one working with you for the furtherance of your vision and that of the bank as we advance, we propel, and we transform the lives of the people of the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union, working with the governments.
And on that note, Dr. Henry, we're going to end it right there.
Thank you.
This has been the first full-length interview since your appointments.
Yes, indeed.
Are we right?
Yes, it is. I had to reserve it for you when you made your request, and I said, yes, you shall be my first.
We would like to thank you on behalf of our fans, on behalf of all of our listeners, everybody who consistently joins in. Thank you for joining us this evening. It has been a pleasure. It was very educational. I hope that everybody can take something from this interview in some part, even if you didn't catch the whole thing, but I hope there was something there that spoke to you. Before we wrap it up completely, we just want to let the viewers know that the third season of Talk the Ting will be back on September the 15th.
Brother, September 1st.
September 1st.
Yeah, before Labor Day, we'll be back.
Details on that to come, but we will be coming back bigger and better. We have some little things big things in store that we won't reveal now, but we're gonna come out nicer. It's gonna be improved. We're gonna be more available, more accessible. YouTube is our new home, so let us know, DM us on Instagram and on YouTube. Let us know what you thought of the stream, if there were any issues. We would appreciate your feedback. Let us know how everything sounded. Let us know if you want to hear any future guests. We appreciate your feedback, and like and subscribe and share.
And hit that little ring bell for notifications,
so you don't miss when we go live and when we put new videos.
One more thing before we leave.
Yeah.
So we're also gonna have some new ventures, right? We're gonna have Talk the Ting Sports, where we're gonna be talking mainly live sports, going over games and predicting, the scores for the games and all that stuff. So we're definitely gonna be coming up with that soon, real soon, matter of fact. So we want you guys to definitely tune in. We want you guys to get involved. And like Rajiv say, make sure you guys tune in and make sure you guys subscribe and hit that notification bell. And in the words of my partner, my partner is Sabantan, share the life. Share the life.
Good night, everybody.
All right, have a good night, everybody.
Thank you, gentlemen, for having me on. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Good night.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. Thank you. All right.